Hey everyone, we're going to do something a little different today. This is going to be a deceiver jig. Um, it's one of the first jigs I learned to tie with using feathers. I basically copied Lefty's Deceiver. There's a ton of examples on this on YouTube, which is why I never did it before. But this is something I came up with last year playing around. Uh, we have a problem here with an invasive species called a spotted lanternfly. If you don't have them in your area, look them up. That's what this is going to be, our spotted lanternfly deceiver. In the vise is a 3/32 ounce freestyle head with a 1/0 Mustad 32-500 hook. That's sort of like a sickle hook. I call it a hybrid. It's between a sickle and a round bend. It doesn't have the extreme angles. You can see it's a little softer here. It's almost like a sprout bend in a way, or an O'Shaughnessy, however you want to look at it. But really good hook, a little heavier wire than the normal sickle hooks, the eagle claws that I use. And it works really well at keeping fish pinned. So we're going to start this off with some black 210 denier flat wax nylon thread. And we'll get our base started. Trim our excess off there. And we're going to go all the way down to the hook point. Not quite to that bend right in front of it. Now, the first thing we're going to do with this thing is we're going to add feathers. I had some gray saddle hackle here. Rooster saddle, no major, nothing special. And I'm going to tie them. These are relatively straight, but the cup faces in, and that's which way I want it. I want the cup facing in, because I don't want this to have a real big profile or action in the water. It's still going to have some, but it's not going to be as extreme as if you had them like hands apart type deal. So I already cut these to length, but you want it about maybe 2 inches or so behind the bend of the hook. That's kind of where I like to have it. And what I do, these are 2 feathers, by the way, that I have together. I just make a little pinch wrap there just to kind of hold it in place. This is the hardest part with this. And the reason I didn't take any extra off is it's going to add durability to this, but it also helps bulk up the body a little bit. And I don't want to do too many wraps until I get the other side tied in. And I'm going to do the same thing. You're going to, like I said, you're going to pull out 4 feathers for this. You're going to have 2 and 2. And I'm going to put them the cup side facing in. And just line it up with what you already have tied in. That looks pretty, that's close. That's pretty good. Tighten it down. Yep, we're good. We are good. We'll wrap it all the way up. Your feathers will separate in the water. You'll see the action. And you could do this in any color. And like I said, that's one of the reasons I never put it on my channel before, is because there's so many deceivers, Lefty's Deceiver. You see them in jigs, you see them in flies mostly, but a couple I've seen them done in jigs. So there's a lot of examples. This is just the way I do them. Now, we got that tied in. Flash. This is rainbow pearl crystal flash. And what I did was I took 2 strands and I cut it in half. And I am going to put two over here, just about the length of the feather, maybe a little shorter. We'll fold it over. And cut it off. So you're going to have like 4 strands on each side. Don't worry if they overlap over to the top. I kind of get that when I put these in. The flash will just sort of roll up, and that's not a problem, because you just want the flash. You want it to accent those feathers, which is why I use the amount of flash I do. Normally I'd put like 1 strand or maybe 2 strands on each side with something like this. But with this pattern, I kind of like a little bit more. I'm going to go all the way up here to build up the body up there some. Now we have our flash tied in, our feather. I'm going to take a small piece of this is anthracite New Age chenille. It's black, got a little bit of sparkle in it, really nice. And I'm going to tie that in. As you can see, I took that little bit off the end there and tied it in by the cord. We don't want to go too far with this. Just a little bit. And that's pretty good. That's pretty good right there. Just a little bit. Now, this is red Tinsel Chenille. And I'm going to strip the end off so I tie it in by a little piece of cord. It's a little cleaner tie-in point. Now on this stuff you really don't need to do that, because that tinsel is really thin, so it's not going to bulk your body up too much, where a lot of other chenilles really would. You leave a bump in there, and I don't like that look, so I tend to strip that cord out. But on this stuff, not so much. You want to leave a little space there at the head. Then you don't got to worry about going too far, because if you do, you could just tie right down. Like I'm going to go up top here and show you. Like you see, I didn't leave a big gap there. I'm going to tie it off here. Because we're going to put bucktail in here. So what we're doing, there's no place, you see, I have filled that in. You could just go right over top of this chenille. And you'll have your space, however far you want it. And it's not gonna make it too bulky. So we got our red Tinsel Chenille tied in. Now the bucktail comes. And we're going to use black. Now on this is actually being tied upside down, because your jig is under the water, the hook is facing up. So this would be the belly. Now most deceiver patterns are bait fish oriented, so you usually have like a white or a yellow belly, something like that. On this one here, we're going to do black, because it's going to be the underside of like I said, that spotted lanternfly, which is dark. And we're going to line our black bucktail up. We want it just blending in with the feather. We don't want it all the way back, so we want it to go just a little bit past the hook point, just where it starts to blend in with that feather. That's optimum, I think. Couple of wraps. Work it around. We'll add more. Bucktail's nice to add in layers. It actually is easier to tie if you add it in layers. And I want this to go almost all the way around. In fact, it would help it if I do go all the way around. I'm just tying it in there. I'm reinforcing it and pulling the extra little pieces of bucktail off of the head rather than, I don't know if you could see it. There's a little tuft right here. I'll show you something that I do. There's a little tuft of hair right here. And rather than take a razor blade and slice it off, what I do is I bring my thread up and go behind it and then pull it back and tie it down. That way your head's nice and neat. You don't have any hair showing, but you're not, cutting it with a razor blade or nothing. I still got a little bit there that I have to get behind and pull away. But we're pretty good. Pull out the shorts, and we're going to take some more black bucktail. We're going to line it up with what we already have tied in. And trim it off. I'm going to flip this up now. Couple of loose wraps. And work it around. Do we have even coverage all the way? And I'm going to tie this down tight as of right now because we're going to go over top with a little bit of gray bucktail. So once I have all my black in that and I'm satisfied where it's at, I'm buttoning it down. So now our black bucktail's tied in. Distribution is really good. We're going to take a little bit of gray bucktail. And I already did something to this. And I took a Sharpie, and all I did was put it against a piece of cardboard and just dotted to get those little bit of lines, trying to resemble that spotted lanternfly. It's not perfect, but it's easier to do when you have your bucktail, when you cut it and before you tie it in. It's a little harder when you tie it in on a pattern like this to separate the bucktail and put your lines in. And again, they're light. I didn't want them real dark. So I'm going to line it up. And I want this a little bit longer than the black. Not much, just a little bit. Spread it out a little bit. You want this to stay on the top primarily. You want it to go over the sides a little bit, but not too much. This looks pretty good. So now we're going to tighten it all up. This is one of the reasons I use the 210. I used to use 140 on this, but it didn't allow me to really crank on the bucktail as tight as I'd like it to get that flare, because you're using it on a head with no collar. So the only way to get the bucktail to get some life to it, to pull it away. See, I get a lot of shorts in this stuff, in the gray particularly. And when we tie it, they come out, which is normal. I didn't clean it out when I cut it. I was in a hurry, so I had a little more shorts than what I expected. So now we're just going to finish up the collar. It looks pretty good. We'll whip finish it. A little bit of loom water-based head cement. Now I'll show you what we have. Get some more of them shorts out. There we go. And there you have. This is basically a lefty's deceiver in a jig form. And in the water, you'll get that little bit of flash of red. It's not a lot. I could have put more in there, but I don't like it to be too bright. I want it to stay more of this gray-black, and I get a lot of it off of that pearl rainbow chenille, rainbow pearl, or crystal flash, I'm sorry. But that's it. In the water, this is really nice. It's going to be another one for the tank. Got about another week before I get that up and running. Just been busy, so I apologize for that. But there you have it. This is a lefty's deceiver in a jig and a spotted lanternfly pattern. Give it a shot. Let me know what you think. Thanks for watching.